Hi, third graders. This week we are going to do some work to review how to use a multiplication table. And then we're going to review some of the patterns that we should be noticing in our multiplication table. Our multiplication table, once we learn how to use it and be comfortable using it, is a really helpful tool. We haven't learned our nines, eights, sevens, or sixes yet, but we can use our multiplication table to help us until we master those facts. We can use the multiplication table to help us notice patterns with our twos, which we're working on, our ones, which we're working on, our zeros, and our fives and our tens. And like I said, it helps us see patterns in as a helpful tool for learning multiplication facts. So let me show you how I use the multiplication table to solve the problem 5 times 4. So I'm going to circle my first factor in yellow. I'm going to pick a different color because that was light. I'm going to circle my first factor 5 in purple and my second factor 4 in blue. And now we're looking for our product. I'm going to circle our product, our question mark, our unknown in pink. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the first factor from the numbers listed in our first column here. So our first factor in purple is blue. Let me circle that. Our first factor is 5. I circled it in purple. Our second factor, I'll circle in blue, is 4. I'm going to find that in our top row. Let me circle that for you. There's our 4. Now, I'm going to move my first factor across the row. And I'm going to move my second factor, our 4, down the column. And I'm looking for where they cross, where those lines meet. And it looks like we meet at 20. This is our product. Our product is where our two factors meet. So 5 times 4 is equal to 20. I moved my 5 across this row. I moved my 4 down the column and looked for where they crossed. 5 times 4 equals 20. 5 groups of 4 equals 20. 5 fours equals 20. And the product of 5 and 4 is 20. Let's try another problem together. Like I said, we haven't learned our nines or our sixes, but I'm pretty sure we can solve this together. My first factor is 9. My second factor is 6. Let's solve 9 times 6. I'm going to choose our first factor, 9, from the first column. I'm going to choose my second factor, 6, from the first row. And now this is where I move across and down. Let's do 9 first. I'm going to move 9 across, drawing a line. It could keep going. I'm going to do 6 second, going down. And where do they meet? What is our product? What is 9 times 6? Did you notice that 9 and 6 cross or meet at 54? 9 times 6 equals 54. The product of 9 and 6 is 54. We don't know our nines yet, but using your multiplication table, you were able to solve for that product. Let's try another one on your own, and then you're going to check your product with mine. All right. What is the product of 7 and 4? What does 7 times 4 equal? Let's see if you got the same product I did. Our first factor is 7. I'm going to circle it in my first column. Our second factor is 4. I will circle that in our first row. Now it's time to move across and down. 7. Here's 4. And they meet at a product of 28. So 7 times 4 equals 28. 7 groups of 4 equals 28. 7 fours equals 28. And the product of 7 and 4 is 28. Let's work together to notice some patterns here. This week, we're going to learn about multiplying by 0 and multiplying by 1. We'll also learn about multiplying by 10. And we've already learned about multiplying by 2 and 5. Let me show you a pattern for 0. What happens when we multiply by 0? So I'm going to do 7, multiply 7 times 0, moving down, moving across. 7 times 0 equals 0. What about 0 times 4? Here's 0. Here's 4. Let's move down. Let's move across. 7 times 4 equals 0. Let's see if this pattern continues. Let's try 0 times 10. We extend. 0 times 10 also equals 0. Let's do one more just to be sure. What about 9 times 0? Here's 9. Here's 0. Move down, move across. 9 times 0 equals 0. Do you notice that every time we multiply a number times 0, it equals 0? We're going to call this pattern the zero hero pattern. And we have a rule for multiplying by 0 that anytime we multiply a number by 0, the product is 0. 0 always wins. The 0 is always winning. If I multiply 1,000,000 times 0, even though 1,000,000 is so much bigger, 0 is going to win. If I multiply 1,000 times 0, the 0 is going to win. 0 always wins. And 0 is our hero. Now we have the opposite for 1. Let's notice what happens when we multiply a number times 1. I'm going to start with 1 times 1. Equals 1. Let's try 3 times 1. Going down, going across. 3 times 1 equals 3. What about 1 times 8? Going down, going across. 1 times 8 equals 8. Let's do one more. What about 6 times 1? 6 times 1 equals 6. Are you noticing a pattern? When we multiply a number times 1, the 1 never wins. The product is always equal to the second factor. So 6 times 1 equals 6. 8 times 1, our 1 is not going to win. Not as strong as 0. 8 times 1 is going to equal 8. When we multiply a number times 1, the product is itself. Any number times 1 equals itself. 1,000 times 1 is going to equal 1,000. 1,000,000 times 1 is going to equal 1,000,000. 10 times 1 is going to equal 10. Now I said 1 never wins unless we multiply 1 by itself. 1 times 1 equals 1. Any other time, the other number is going to win. The other factor will win. What's 0 times 1? 0. Any number times itself equals 1. We've been working on our 2's in class. And when we multiply by 2, we should notice that we are always going to have a 0, 2, 4, 6, I made a mistake here, or 8 in our 1's column for the product. Let's see what we mean here. And we can also, for 2's, use skip counting in our doubles to help us. So what if I do 2 times 4? If I do 2 times 4, I can skip count by 2 4 times. 2, 4, 6, 8. 2 times 4 equals 8. Let's try 2 times 7. How many times am I going to skip count by 2? 7 times. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. 2 times 7 equals 14. I have a 4 in my ones column. We always have an even number in our ones column. Let's try 2 times 10. I'm going to skip count by 2 10 times. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. 2 times 10 equals 20. We can also use our doubles to help us. We know that 4 plus 4 equals 8. We know that 7 plus 7 equals 14. We know that 10 plus 10 equals 20. If you know your doubles, you also know your twos. 2 times 4 equals 8. 2 times 6 equals 12. 2 times 8 equals 16. We can use skip counting to help us with our fives as well. And our product will always end in a 0 or 5. We already learned this together as a class. Let's do 5 times 6. I'm going to skip count by 5 6 times. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 5 times 6 equals 30. Our product ends in 0. Let's try 5 times 9. I'm going to skip count 9 times. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. 5 times 9 equals 45. My product ends in 5. We always have a 0 or a 5 in our ones place. Skip counting helps you with multiplication. Let's notice our last pattern here, and this is something we'll work on this week. When we multiply by 10, if I look down my column for 10 here, I'm always going to have a 0 in the ones place. I am always going to have a 0 in the ones place. I can also use skip counting by tens to help me. Let's try 10 times 3. Here's my 10. Here's my 3. And I'm going to skip count by 10 3 times. 10, 20, 30. 10 times 3 equals 30. Let's do 10 times 5. I'm going to skip count by 10 5 times. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. All right. I hope you see some of our patterns. Our 0 hero pattern, 0 always win. Any number times 0 equals itself. I hope you see our pattern that 1, unless we're multiplying 1 times 1, never wins. Any number times 1 equals itself. 1 times 8 equals 8. 1,000 times 1 equals 1,000. We can use skip counting by 2s. When we're multiplying by 2s, we can also use our doubles. And our products are always going to end in 0, 2, 4, or 6. When we multiply by 5, we can skip count by 5s. And our products are always going to end in 0 or 5 with the 0 or 5 in the ones place. And when we multiply by 10, we skip count by tens and always have a 0 in the ones place. I hope we can see how this multiplication chart can help you. And we're going to give you some problems to practice using this. Great job.